No one in the crowd was ready for what was about to happen, and honestly, even the judges weren't paying much attention at first. Before we begin, take 1 second. If you love emotional stories like this, hit like and subscribe, because this one is going to stay with you for a long time. The stage lights glowed softly as the next contestant's name was announced. A small boy walked out, barely reaching the microphone stand. He looked around 10 years old, wearing a slightly oversized white shirt, neatly tucked into faded black pants. His shoes were clean, but clearly worn out. His hands trembled just a little as he adjusted the mic. The audience exchanged glances. Some smiled politely, others whispered. One of the judges leaned forward and asked gently, "What's your name, young man?" "My name is Ayan," he said, his voice quiet but clear. "And how old are you, Ayan?" "I'm 10. There was a soft awe from the audience, but nothing more. The judges smiled, but you could tell they were expecting something cute, maybe average, nothing unforgettable. "So, why are you here today?" another judge asked. Ayan paused. For a moment, it looked like he might forget what to say. Then he took a deep breath. "I'm here because my mother told me not to give up on my dream." Something in his tone made the room a little quieter. "What does your mother do?" a judge asked. Ayan looked down. "She used to sing." Used to. That one word changed everything. A faint silence spread across the hall. "What happened?" the judge asked softly. Ayan swallowed. "She got very sick last year. She can't speak much anymore, but she listens to me sing every day." Now the audience wasn't whispering anymore. They were listening. "And today," Ayan continued, his small fingers gripping the mic tighter, "I want to sing for her, so she knows I didn't stop." The judges nodded slowly. One of them pressed their lips together, clearly already emotional. "All right, Ayan, whenever you're ready." The music began at soft piano notes, simple and slow. At first, people leaned back in their seats, expecting something gentle, maybe shaky. But then Ayan sang his first note. And everything changed. His voice wasn't just good, it was powerful. Deep with emotion, filled with something far beyond his years. It carried pain, hope, and love all at once. The kind of voice that makes your chest tighten before you even realize why. The audience straightened up instantly. One judge's eyes widened. Another leaned forward, elbows on the table, completely focused now. Ayan closed his eyes as he sang, like he wasn't even on stage anymore. Like he was somewhere else, maybe in a small room, beside his mother, singing just for her. Every word felt real. Halfway through the performance, something unbelievable happened. The crowd went completely silent. Not a single whisper. Not a single cough. Just his voice echoing through the hall. And then, a tear rolled down one of the judges' cheeks. Another judge covered their mouth, trying to hold it together. When Ayan reached the chorus, his voice soared higher, stronger and somehow even more emotional. You could feel the story behind every note. It wasn't just singing anymore. It was a message. A promise. "I didn't stop, Mom. I'm still trying." By the final note, the entire room was frozen. For a split second after he finished, there was silence. And then, the crowd erupted. People jumped to their feet, clapping, cheering, some even crying. It wasn't just applause, it was something deeper. Respect. Shock. Pure emotion. Ayan opened his eyes slowly, almost surprised by the reaction. One judge stood up immediately, shaking their head in disbelief. Another wiped their tears openly now. "You're 10, one of them asked, still stunned. Ayan nodded shyly. That didn't sound like a 10-year-old. That sounded like someone who's lived a lifetime. The audience clapped even louder. Another judge leaned forward. "Ayan, I don't think you understand what you just did. You didn't just sing, you made everyone here feel something real." Ayan smiled slightly, but his eyes searched the crowd. Is your mom watching right now? A judge asked. He nodded. She's at home, but she's watching on TV. The judges looked at each other. And then, without saying anything else, one of them reached forward and pressed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded into the air. The crowd screamed. Ion stood there, frozen, as golden lights rained down around him. He didn't move at first, like he couldn't believe it was real. Then his hands covered his face. He started crying. The judges rushed onto the stage, surrounding him. One of them knelt down and hugged him tightly. You did it, they whispered. You really did it. Back at home, in a small, quiet room, a weak but smiling woman watched the screen through teary eyes. She couldn't speak, but she didn't need to. Her son had said everything for her. As Ion looked up into the golden lights, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a performance. It was love. It was strength. And it was proof that even the smallest voices can carry the biggest emotions. So if you've ever felt like you're too small, too young, or not enough, remember Ion. Because sometimes, the world doesn't expect anything from you. And that's exactly when you surprise everyone. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because stories like this remind us what truly matters. No one expected anything special that day, but by the end, not a single person in the room was left without tears. Before we begin, if you believe in dreams and second chances, take a second to like this video and subscribe, because this story might change the way you see people forever. The stage lights turned on, and the host smiled as he announced the next contestant. A small girl walked onto the stage. She looked fragile, maybe 10 years old. She wore a simple blue dress, slightly wrinkled, and her hair was tied in a loose ponytail. Her shoes didn't even match properly. The audience gave a soft clap, nothing too loud. Just polite. One judge leaned forward and smiled. Hi, sweetheart, what's your name? My name is Mehak, she said quietly. And how old are you? I'm 10. The judges nodded. They had seen hundreds of kids before. Most were good, some were okay, but very few were unforgettable. So Mehak, why did you come here today? She hesitated. Her fingers tightened around the microphone. I want to win this for my father. The tone changed instantly. What does your father do? Another judge asked gently. Mehak looked down. For a moment, it seemed like she wouldn't answer. He used to drive a rickshaw, she said slowly. But last year, he had an accident. The audience went quiet. He can't work anymore, and sometimes, we don't have enough money. A heavy silence filled the room. But he always tells me, she continued, her voice shaking now, that my voice is my strength, and I should never stop singing. One of the judges placed their hand on their chest, already emotional. And is he watching you right now? They asked. Mehak nodded. Yes, from home. All right, Mehak, the judge said softly, whenever you're ready. The music started, soft, emotional piano. For the first few seconds, nothing unusual happened. Then she sang. And everything changed. Her voice wasn't just beautiful, it was raw. Painful. Honest. It didn't sound trained or perfect, it sounded real. Like every note carried her struggles. The audience leaned forward. One judge's expression shifted from polite to shocked. Another whispered, "Oh my God." Mehak closed her eyes as she sang, like she was somewhere else. Like she was standing in front of her father, not thousands of strangers. Every lyric felt like a message. I'm trying. I won't give up. I'll make you proud. Halfway through the performance, a man in the audience wiped his tears. A woman held her hand over her mouth. Even the cameraman seemed still. And then came the high note. No one expected it. A small 10-year-old girl, hitting a note so powerful, so full of emotion, it sent chills through the entire hall. One judge slammed the table lightly in disbelief. Another stood up. By the time she reached the final chorus, the entire room was already on their feet. Clapping. Crying. Feeling every second of it. When the music stopped, Mehak slowly opened her eyes. For a split second, silence. And then, a thunder of applause. The kind that shakes the room. She stepped back slightly, overwhelmed. Mehak, one judge said, their voice breaking, that wasn't just singing, that was your heart. Another judge wiped their tears openly. I don't think I've ever felt something like this before. Mehak smiled weakly, trying to stay strong. Then one judge asked, if you could say one thing to your father right now, what would it be? She looked straight into the camera. Abu. I'll fix everything. I promise. That was it. The moment broke everyone. The judge didn't wait another second. They reached forward and pressed the golden buzzer. Boom! Golden confetti exploded across the stage. The audience screamed. Mehak froze. She looked up as golden pieces fell around her, like a dream she never thought would come true. Then she started crying. Not softly, but the kind of crying that comes from years of pain finally breaking free. The judges ran to the stage and hugged her tightly. You don't have to fix everything, one of them whispered. You've already done enough. At home, in a small dim room, her father sat on an old chair, tears streaming down his face as he watched his daughter shine on screen. For the first time in months, he smiled. Back on stage, Mehak looked up, her face still wet with tears, but her eyes full of hope now. And in that moment, everyone understood something important. Sometimes, the strongest voices come from the smallest people. And sometimes, all it takes is one chance to change everything. So if you're watching this and you feel like life is hard, like no one sees your struggle, don't stop. Because your moment might be closer than you think. And when it comes, make sure the world hears you. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because stories like this remind us that miracles are real. The crowd was restless. Another kid, another audition, another song. Most people were already scrolling on their phones, waiting for something exciting to happen. No one expected anything from a 10-year-old boy standing in the middle of the stage with a small, slightly worn-out guitar. Before we dive in, if you love stories that make you cry and cheer at the same time, hit like and subscribe. This one will leave you speechless. The boy's name was Rayhan. He shuffled nervously toward the microphone, eyes downcast, clutching the guitar like it was his only shield against the world. His shirt was faded, sleeves a little short, and his shoes scuffed. But there was a determination in his eyes that made you stop for a second. The first judge leaned forward, curiosity more than expectation. Hi, young man. What's your name? Rayhan, he said, voice barely above a whisper. And how old are you? I'm 10, he said, his voice trembling slightly. A polite "oh" went around the audience, but no one was leaning in. Most people were already convinced this would be just another cute kid performance. Why are you here, Rayhan? The second judge asked. He took a deep breath. I want to sing for my sister. The audience went quiet. My sister, she's very sick, he continued. She's been in the hospital for months, and she likes to hear me sing. I promised her I'd try my best, and I'm not giving up. Even the judges could feel the weight in his words. This wasn't about fame. This was about love, survival, hope. All right, Rayhan, one judge said softly, take your time. Whenever you're ready. The guitar strings vibrated under his small hands, and the first note came out raw, shaky, imperfect, human. But then, slowly, he found his strength. The next note rang clear and full of emotion. And suddenly, everyone stopped. The audience leaned forward. The judges went silent, staring. Each note told a story of struggle, fear, love, and courage. Rayhan's voice carried pain, yet hope. His guitar echoed every heartbeat. By the time he reached the chorus, even the production crew behind the cameras were holding their breath. Halfway through, one judge's hand flew to their mouth. Another's eyes filled with tears. You could feel the entire room holding onto each note, each word. Rayhan's voice wasn't just beautiful, it was magnetic. It drew out emotions people had buried inside themselves. The kind of performance that makes you forget the world outside the stage. Then came the final verse. His voice rose, powerful yet tender, as if he was singing directly to his sister in that hospital bed. The audience was completely silent, no whispers, no phones, no distractions. And then, the golden buzzer moment. One judge, overwhelmed, couldn't resist. They slammed it. The confetti exploded, raining down like gold snow. The crowd screamed, standing, tears streaming down their faces. Rayhan froze, stunned. His small hands covered his mouth. His eyes scanned the audience, the judges, then the camera, and he seemed to realize that, somehow, his song had traveled farther than he imagined. Back in the hospital, his sister smiled weakly at the screen, her hand reaching out toward the television. She couldn't speak, couldn't move much, but she knew. She heard every word. She felt every emotion. The judges rushed onto the stage, embracing Rayhan. You did more than sing, one whispered. You moved every single person here. Rayhan looked at the camera, voice shaking, eyes glistening. I promised my sister. I won't give up. And I never will. The lights dimmed, the golden confetti settled, but the impact lingered. Everyone in that room and everyone watching at home felt it. The power of one small voice, a voice no one expected, rising against all odds. This wasn't just a performance. This was hope, courage, and love. This was proof that sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest messages. So if you're watching and feel like your voice doesn't matter, remember Rayhan. Keep singing. Keep fighting. Keep going. Because your moment to shine might just be the one the world never saw coming. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe, because stories like this remind us why dreams, love, and determination are unstoppable. No one expected this. Not the judges. Not the audience. And definitely not the world watching from home. Before we start, if you love emotional stories that make your heart skip a beat, hit like and subscribe, because this one will leave you speechless. The stage lights turned on, warm and soft, but the room was buzzing with doubt. Another kid. Another audition. But then, a small boy walked out, barely reaching the microphone. His clothes were simple, a plain gray t-shirt, slightly torn jeans, and sneakers scuffed from years of wear. His hair fell into his eyes, but he brushed it back nervously. The host smiled, trying to ease the tension. Next up, a 10-year-old boy. Everyone, give him a warm welcome. The audience clapped politely, but their attention was scattered. Phones out, whispers, soft laughter. No one thought this would be extraordinary. The first judge leaned in, curious. Hi, young man. What's your name? Aram, he said quietly. And how old are you? 10, he answered, his voice barely audible. Another judge asked, Aram, why are you here today? He swallowed, fingers gripping the microphone stand. I want to sing, for my mom. A hush fell. My mom, she worked hard every day, just to feed us, he said. Last year, she got sick. She can't work anymore. But she believes in me. She said, sing like your heart is bigger than the world. You could hear a pin drop. The third judge whispered, wow, okay. Whenever you're ready, Aram. The music started, soft piano, delicate strings. Aram took a deep breath. The first note was soft, shaky, unsure. But then, slowly, the magic began. His voice, it carried a depth no one expected from a 10-year-old. Every note was filled with love, pain, and hope. The audience leaned in, silent. The judges exchanged glances. Their polite smiles faded, this was real. With every verse, Aram's confidence grew. His eyes closed, his small hands moved along the mic stand. His voice wove a story of struggle and determination. You could almost see the tiny room where his mother waited, listening to every practice, every note. Halfway through, a high note hit, a note so pure, so haunting, that a few audience members gasped. One judge covered their mouth, holding back tears. Another's eyes glistened. Everyone felt it. Not just the song, but the boy's story, his fight, his love. Then came the climax, the part of the song where emotion poured out raw and unfiltered. His voice soared, carrying every ounce of hope he had. The audience was completely silent, except for the soft sniffles and whispers of awe. You could feel hearts breaking and mending all at once. Finally, the last note lingered in the air, trembling, powerful, and perfect. The room stayed quiet for a long moment, almost afraid to breathe. Then eruptions of applause. Standing ovation. Tears. Some couldn't stop crying. One judge stood, covering their face, stunned. Aram opened his eyes, shocked by the love around him. The host leaned down. Aram, that was incredible. You didn't just sing. You made everyone feel something real. The judge closest to the golden buzzer didn't hesitate. They pressed it. Golden confetti exploded across the stage. The crowd screamed, but it was different this time, like witnessing a miracle. Aram's small hands trembled. Tears streamed down his face. He looked up at the confetti raining over him and whispered, "For you, Mom." Back home, in a tiny, dim room, his mother clutched her chest. She couldn't speak, she could barely move, but she smiled, tears falling freely. She knew her son had just carried their entire world on his voice. The judges hugged Aram. "You did it," one whispered. "You did more than sing. You inspired every single person here." Aram looked straight into the camera, voice cracking but strong. "If you believe, if you keep trying, even when no one expects anything, miracles can happen." And the world understood. This wasn't just an audition. It was hope. Strength. Love. And proof that sometimes, the smallest voices can make the loudest impact. So if you're watching and feel small, unheard, like your voice doesn't matter, remember Aram. Keep singing. Keep dreaming. Keep going. Because your moment will come. And when it does, no one will ever forget your voice. If this story gave you chills, hit like, share, and subscribe, because stories like this remind us why dreams, love, and courage are unstoppable.